Done.
Hello, everyone. It's fantastic being on the show today, and welcome to Green Card with Gehi. And today, I have my wonderful associate with me. Greg is with me today from Ippolito is with me, and we are going to talk about complicated issues in marriage-based immigration cases. We're going to take you all the way to divorces. We're going to take you all the way if your matter goes to the court. We're going to talk about the defenses you may have in your cases. Our firm has handled extremely difficult marriage-based immigration cases. And we handle immigration cases from all over the US and the world. Sometimes it's sad to see that some spouses have to undergo a lot of harassment, a lot of mental trauma in these marriages just in order to get the green card. So welcome, Greg. And Greg is a fantastic lawyer working with us. And he's done a lot of immigration court-related cases before the Executive Office of Immigration Review. And we've taken it all the way to courts. In the recent case that our firm handled, I cannot take the name of the case because of confidentiality reasons. We had a case wherein we had to take it all the way to the federal court. And just a couple of weeks ago, the lady got a citizenship, and I'm very happy for her. And she was in a situation wherein, immigration wanted to take away her green card, put her in deportation proceedings. But we fought that case. We had started all the way by going back to the matrimonial court, getting her divorce decree vacated because of the fraud that was conducted by the husband. And eventually, I'm happy to say that she's a citizen. Prior results do not guarantee future outcome. So welcome, Greg. So let's start rocking. And how do you feel about being on our first show today?
I'm very excited to be here, Mr. Gehi. This is a great opportunity for us and for people to learn about all these issues. I think a large part about what we're doing here today is demystifying these complicated matters.
Right.
People have in their head their own opinions about what happens and what to do and how to react. But we're here to clarify all these issues and talk about how to fix them if they go wrong.
Right. So, Greg, what I've seen is that since, as you rightly know, our firm has handled extremely complex immigration cases, especially when it comes to spouse visas. So I'm going to tell you what I've seen in my career. And by the way, folks, my case has also been reported in the New York Times. And that too, there's been a 2-page article in the New York Times about the type of cases that we have handled in marriage-based immigration cases. So let's talk about a few issues. Greg, one thing I've seen is that when people, especially, right, they do the paperwork on their own, what I've seen in my experience is on several occasions, it's a hit or a miss. When they miss it very badly, the case gets denied. There's a blemish on the record. And after that, the scrutiny of immigration becomes very high. So the thing is that we'll tell them about some pointers that I've seen that they need to avoid. So the very first thing is, Greg, you've been to a Stokes interview. You've seen how harrowing it is to go for a Stokes interview. And what your experience at the Stokes interview? Can you tell people why they should take a lawyer from the very beginning?
So I will speak from personal experience. My wife and I had a Stokes interview.
Oh my God.
We were young and we did not go through an attorney and did not show enough proof of a bona fide marriage. We also have many clients in this position where for work or school or for whatever reason, they're living in 2 different states at the time. They got married quickly and it might look suspicious.
Suspicious.
So to compensate for that, we help prepare the clients with questions you're going to be asked at the Stokes interview, and also additional evidence to prove your marriage is real, okay? That you're not doing it solely for green card benefits. Now, a Stokes interview is when USCIS, that's the government administration that adjudicates these green card applications, is suspicious for some reason as to whether your marriage is bona fide. And bona fide means that it is basically means that it's real, that you are in love, that you got married based upon reasons you get married for, right? And Stokes interview is they separate you and ask you the same questions in different rooms. And then at the end, they compare those questions. So they'll ask you, what is your brother's name? When was he born? And then they'll ask your spouse that question. And if your spouse doesn't know who your brother is,
you're gone.
You have to come up with a good, there has to be a good reason for that.
So Greg, what I've seen, because I've handled many, many Stokes interviews over the years. And what I've seen is that the officer is very strict. Secondly, at times, I've also seen ICE officials standing right in front of you to make sure that you're not lying. They're also ready in certain instances to even handcuff you if they feel that you are committing marriage fraud. And I've seen them in the room when the officer conducts the interview. So be very careful when you're going for these cases. And how does one know that there was Stokes interview? Let me tell you how I would know about it. Generally, what happens in these cases, in most of these cases, you get called for your first immigration interview. And then you feel that your interview didn't go well, or the officer is not giving you a good sign. And when you go home, you got another letter stating that come back for the interview. Now that is exactly, for you to know clearly that is a red herring by itself, that you should be taking a lawyer with you or change your lawyer or make sure that you take a very experienced attorney. Because if the officer is suspecting marriage fraud, and then if he denies your case, and if he uses the word 204C of the Immigration and Nationality Act, the sad news for you is that you will be barred from getting your green card forever. Forever means forever. So someone asked me, what happened, Mr. Gehi? My case got denied. Now I found another beautiful woman to marry me. Good luck. Take her to your home country and let us sponsor you for the green card there. In the US, you may not have a second bite of the apple. So remember, someone asked me a question. I'm happily married. Everyone is happily married. But the burden of proof is on you to show that you are happily married. I know of a person who went for an interview. He said, Mr. Gehi, I answered most of the questions properly. But in some of the questions I did not. Your fault. Because under the Immigration and Nationality Act, the burden of proof is completely upon you to satisfy the officer that your marriage is bona fide and it is not intended to circumvent the immigration laws of the United States under Section 204C of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Greg, what would you like to say about that?
So yes, so what will happen is if the officer is suspicious or you fail your Stokes interview, you'll get a notice of denial in the form, in the mail. And from there, you're frequently referred to immigration court, which is when the Department of Justice actively tries to deport you from the country. They're called removal proceedings. So we've had many clients at the firm where this has happened to. They have a real marriage, and for whatever reason, they don't do well during the interview, and they're referred to the courts. And from there,
before that, Greg, the one step that happens is that suppose especially if I-130 gets denied, you have an opportunity to appeal that before the Board of Immigration Appeals. And it's very important for them to file the right appeal in these cases, get good legal counsel, and try to win those cases. Because even if the case is denied, right, we are talking at a high level now. we can show that this case does not involve marriage fraud. So if we get a good sympathetic judge at the BIA, he may say, okay, let them deny the case. I understand that your question and answers did not match, but I don't agree with the marriage fraud case. So at least you'll have light at the end of the tunnel in future if exactly you're able to get the right guidance. For example, I've had clients calling from different states over here. Mr. Gehi, I went to Pennsylvania. What happened? Unfortunately, I freaked out. And in one of these cases, Greg, what happened is that this person was married to someone, and the woman that he married had 4 children, and she was on Social Security, she was on welfare, and the woman was much older than him. And this guy comes from a different country, nothing in common with the culture, shows up at the interview. And this lady was inappropriately dressed, didn't know anything about her husband. Of course, you are basically kind of shooting yourself in the foot. This is a bad example of basically, going to immigration, making sure that exactly you don't have the right paperwork, you don't have right counsel, and your job is to prove that you're living with that person, because the law requires you to get married for love only, which means the law requires a bona fide marriage. I cannot stress the importance of the word bona fide. And sometimes what happens? People get these denial decisions in the mail. Don't freak out. We've had clients coming to us from all over the US. There may be hope depending on what the facts of your case are. And sometimes, a decent case can be denied because you did not meet a very kind of, good officer. You met a very conservative officer and he denied your case. You may still have hope. Another thing which I've noticed, Greg, is that how about this? People sometimes give up on the green card just because they're in the middle of a divorce. I think that's very wrong. What would you say? Because they need to fight for the green card. What do you feel about that?
I agree completely. We people walk in the door all the time who they're in the middle of a divorce, especially they're victims of abuse where their spouse is abusing them. And it's something we do on a regular basis. They file what's called a VAWA claim. It's called Form I-3.
Battered spouse, yes.
Battered spouse claim. And if they have been abused by their spouse or their spouse is threatening them, oftentimes, and this is very sad, we have a US citizen spouse who marries a foreigner and threatens them, him or her, with deportation if they don't do everything they say. I want you to go to work. I want you to bring home me the money. I want you to do this for me. And if you don't do everything I say, I'm going to have you deported. And we can, if you come to us, we get your spouse out of the picture. We don't even have to talk to them anymore. Okay.
Just look at what Greg is saying. We don't need the signature of the spouse. This is important for people to know. But people think that if I'm going to divorce him, I've got to kiss his feet. The answer is no. You do not have to kiss his feet. End of the day, get a seasoned lawyer and you can fight this case on your own without any help from the abuser. Let me repeat, without any help from the abuser. We've done many cases like this. Prior results don't guarantee future outcome, but at the end of the day, when the great get going, the going gets great. And if you are in that vulnerable situation, you can be a man or a woman. People say, Mr. Gehi, isn't that known as the Violence Against Women's Act? It applies to men equally. You may be in a same-sex marriage. That is absolutely fine. Your partner may be a partner of the opposite sex. You may be abusing a woman, or a woman may be abusing you. At the end of the day, the law is the same for battered spouses and for VAWA, which is just named as a Violence Against Women's Act. And also, I want you to know something. There's a lot of people who are watching the show may not know, Greg. Do you know that if your children were adults over 21, And if they're abusing the parents, even the parents can qualify for a green card grant.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is it done the same way as
Yes.
360?
So take an example that there's a child who's 22 years, no, a man or a woman who's 22 years right now, and she's making her father's or her mother's life miserable. And even if they entered without a visa to America, remember, the good thing about VAWA, another good thing is that even if your spouse, the foreign spouse, entered the United States without a visa, by crossing the border, you can still adjust in the United States because this is an exception under Section 245 of the Immigration and Nationality Act.
Oh, that's very important, because if you normally get married and adjust your status to your wife, and you have what you said, entry without inspection, you cross the border without a visa.
EWI, yeah.
You need a special waiver for that, where you have to return to your home country to go through visa processing at the consulate. But with a VAWA case, you don't necessarily have to do that.
Right. So this is fantastic. So take an example now. Let's kind of basically, dumb it down for people. So example that there's this lady whose name is Jane Doe. Jane is coming from Guyana. She comes to America by crossing the border. She falls in love with John. Now, John, after getting married, is changed completely. He's beating Jane, threatening her, making her life miserable, and telling her, hey, you mess with me, I'm never going to get you the green card. What should Jane do? First thing is that she should document. She should, if needed, we can even call the police. Doesn't matter if you're undocumented. You still have the right to call the cops. You don't have to take this torture. Or get in touch with a good law firm. We handle immigration cases from all over the US and the world. Then we can take it from there. But make sure if you have a cell phone, take pictures of the abuse. Keep maintaining records. Keep your text messages. Keep in touch with your family members. Keep in touch with friends. Let them know what's going on. Because evidence is going to be the controlling factor in your case, especially when you're going to apply it on your own. And someone asked me this question, Mr. Gehi, have you done cases wherein you didn't have a police report? Have you done cases wherein you didn't have a medical report? Yes, I have. And I'm happy to tell you, I've succeeded in several cases wherein we didn't have a police report. So by law, it is not mandatory for you to have a police report. As I said, prior results do not guarantee future outcome. But at the end of the day, it's not mandatory for someone to have a police report. Now, another important twist. Now, people ask me, Mr. Gehi, who are the people from whom the torture should have witnessed? It can be a US citizen. The petitioner can be a US citizen, or it can also be a green card holder. So if you're married to a green card holder, he's abusing you. Bye. Under the law, it is very clear that the green card holder or the US citizen is not allowed to abuse you. And you should be a victim of extreme cruelty is the law on the point. If you have been subjected to extreme cruelty, the good news for you is that you can apply for your green card on your own. Point number one. Point number two, you went for a marriage-based interview. Your interview is denied. For some other reason, you may still have light at the end of the tunnel. Number three, you went for your first interview. Officer was not satisfied. You want to change your lawyer. It is your right to change your lawyer. Doesn't matter where you are located. The answer is no. In today's world, if you're watching the show, you can be located in California. You might be watching the show anywhere in Florida. You may be watching this show in Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Puerto Rico. Doesn't matter, an immigration lawyer can help you to appear before USCIS, before the Board of Immigration Appeals, before the immigration judge. Doesn't matter where you are. So that's a good thing about it. When should you change your lawyer? Do you need consent from the lawyer to change your lawyer? The answer is no. The common question Greg I get is that, do I need to talk to my lawyer before I change my lawyer? My answer is no. What do you have to say, Greg, on that?
No, we will take care of all of that for you. When someone walks into the office, generally they have issues with their lawyer who just, they take the money and they never hear from them ever again. So the first thing we do is request all the files so we know what happened. Okay, what was their previous attorney doing and how can we fix that? The second thing we do is what's called the Freedom of Information Act request.
Right.
And that's where we get all the government's information they have on you, the immigrant. And from there, we do a detailed review of all that information, and then we can come up with a strategy. See if there's any issues we have to look out for, things to take note of, or you might be, everything, might be in order. But most importantly, we offer you good communication.
Great. All right, so we're getting some questions here. So I'm going to take some of them. What are the easy ways of getting the green card? So the first one is marrying a US citizen. Second one is marrying a green card holder. Then these are like my recommendations, and everyone can differ, but these are based upon my personal experience, and these are my opinions by law. So as per to my opinion, and asylum is another good way if you fear persecution in your country because of race, religion, or membership in a social group. Now, take an example, a little bit about asylum. You came to this country and you're fearing persecution. Means if you feel if you go back, you're going to be killed because of your race, your religion, your membership in a social group, consider asylum. Take an example about a woman who has been subjected to domestic abuse in her country. Asylum is a good way. You're a gay and your country does not allow gays to live there. Asylum is a good way. You're from a country wherein exactly you have to give a dowry. Asylum may be a way, because dowry has been prohibited, by most countries. So there are ways. You've been a victim of political threats. Your opposition is telling you that I'm going to kill you. Asylum when you're in America. You belong to a religion. You're a Christian right now, living in Pakistan. And over there, like if you're threatened, that may be a good one for you to look into asylum out there. And you belong to a minority in the country. For example, if you're a Muslim in a big country and wherein your rights are not protected, if you're a Hindu living in Afghanistan, your rights are not protected. Another way might be asylum. If you think that you are facing this unfortunate plight because of your religion, then asylum may be the way for you. The next question which I get from people is, can a person apply for asylum after 1 year? Of course you can, but based upon extraordinary circumstances. You did not know anything about asylum. And the country has changed right now. For example, right, I'm living over here and I happen to be from Ukraine. I've been here for 7 years or 10 years. I can still apply for asylum. Why? Because of changed country conditions. I can apply even if I'm from Russia, because if you do not support the Russian government and if you're pro-Ukrainian, that's a reason for you. So folks, get that out of your mind that you have to apply for asylum within a year. It all depends upon the situation you're in. So let me take the next question, then I'll hand over everything to Greg, and he'll do some talking with us. If you previously committed marriage fraud, can you have a waiver for your next bona fide marriage? Difficult shot, but if your first spouse is ready to cooperate, and then you can take it all the way to the federal court, the government may settle. MAY-SETTLE. But there are some ways through which you may still qualify. There are other ways to be more precise with, or not exactly through marriage. There may be a way out, but I think they should come in and see us, or they can Zoom us, or the phone numbers are here, and we offer free personal consultation, 718-263-5999, Jamaica, 718-764-6911, and Ozone Park, that's where Greg is, 718-577-0711, and I'm always between the Jackson Heights office and the Jamaica office. So folks, we have some very good experienced lawyers in terms of immigration matter. Now let me take the next question over here. Who can sponsor whom for a marriage-based immigration green card? So a green card holder can sponsor a spouse, a US citizen can sponsor a spouse. So even if you're a green card holder, you can sponsor your spouse, within 1 year they can get the green cards. Why do they give you a conditional green card instead of a permanent one? So they give you a conditional green card, especially because when the marriage is less than 2 years, you'll get a conditional green card, because this came about in 1986 in order to prevent marriage frauds. And they seen that there was a big kind of wave of marriage frauds. So Congress decided to come up with a law that if the marriage is less than 2 years old, we want to make sure that people first get their conditional green cards, so that the intent is to live a life together and not to circumvent the immigration laws of the United States of America. So I'll take the next question. Let's see. Can a person whose marriage-based green cards were denied first marriage get? Yes, those are complicated cases. If your first marriage case, you went for it, if your spouse did fail to show up, we've handled many such complex cases. What Greg and I do and our law firm does, we handle extremely complex marriage-based immigration cases. And also Greg speaks Spanish very well. And habla español poquito, buenos abogados, buenos amigos. So if you have any consulte gratis, we speak many languages in our firm. It's right from English, right from Urdu, Spanish, then we speak French, then we have someone speaking Creole, then we have someone speaking Chinese, then there's someone speaking Uzbek, and plus also some African languages we have spoken at the firm. So Greg, another question which I've seen is that in marriage-based immigration cases, sometimes they go to this matrimonial lawyer, and this matrimonial lawyer doesn't know anything. This matrimonial lawyer doesn't know anything about what to do about immigration, and they enter into the stipulation or settlement, and the person loses their green card. What can we do in these cases?
So in these cases, are you talking about like an ineffective counsel claim? Like for a divorce?
The best thing to do for them, rather than going to that level, is I think immediately what I believe, we're just trying to make the peace for them, is they need to immediately consult with an immigration lawyer, because sometimes people are green card holders, they want to become citizens, and their chances of becoming a US citizen are hampered. Because they want to get married to someone else, or they want to sponsor their parents. We may be able to find a solution to these cases. So
absolutely.
Anytime, if you are in the middle of a criminal case, or if you're in the middle of a divorce, contact us. We'll be happy to assist you, and we're always here to help you. And we have these 3 fantastic offices. Plus, we also have an office in India, in Mumbai, wherein exactly we've been helping a lot of people, in India too, with their immigration matters. And we'll be also giving you the number for the India office next time, or be kind enough to send the office number for India, so people who want to watch this show in India or in other countries can also see it. And we have plans from all over the United States and the world. You have plans from Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, speak about it, Japan, Vietnam. We've had plans from from the world. When it comes to immigration, it's a big firm. We have close to approximately 80 members working, 80 members working for Gehi and Associates. And if any complex immigration matter, not only a marriage-based immigration, if it's H-1Bs, if it's labor certifications, it's marriage-based immigration, and of course, deportations. We love fighting fire. If it's a very complicated case, wherever you are, our wonderful team, that includes Greg, Suriya Rahman, used to be a former immigration, who's formerly worked at immigration. Then we have Karan. Then we have many good people working in our firm, Ashima and Utosa, big team of people working here, who can really help you with all your cases. So folks, remember the golden number, 718-263-5999 and 718-764-6911 for the Jamaica office. And if you want to see Greg, he can be reached at 718-577-0711. And folks, great news for you guys. Every week, either Greg and I, Suriya, or someone else will be there for you. And if you like the show, please like us on Facebook, share it on Facebook, I strongly believe in one word, knowledge is power. But come to us when you have that complicated case. Doesn't matter whether it's an H-1B case, or it's an I-140 denial, it's a marriage-based immigration case, if it's deportation, because that's what we do. We fight fire. We love to fight with fire. So you have that kind of a case, contact us. We'll be happy to look into it because experience matters a lot in the profession. So before I leave, I think I'm going to take one or two more questions. What should be the timeline for getting a green card if I'm a married spouse? Approximately 2 years. My divorce is pending. Will that affect my green card, which was sponsored by my husband? It may affect your green card, depending on the facts and circumstances of your case. So make sure that you get counsel right away. That's going to be critically important. And our website is www.gehilaw.com. The instant program is an attorney advertisement. Prior results do not guarantee future outcome. We handle immigration cases from all over the United States and the world. And if you have an immigration question, you can call us or reach us at info@gehilaw.com. And we'll be back again next week, same time, same place, on Green Card with Gehi. Share it, like it, and have full faith in you that you are going to make sure that you're going to spread the message so that we can talk about some complicated issues relating to immigration. I'd rather prefer answering complicated questions rather than simple questions on immigration. Thank you for all your time, folks, and we'll be back again next week. Keep watching this program brought to you by Gehi and Associates, Green Card with Gehi.